everybody, my name's Rosie and welcome to my channel. As you can see, I'm all fresh faced, looking my best because we're going to be doing some makeup again today. I filmed my first makeup video recently. I really enjoyed it, so I thought I'd give it another go. However, this time we're going to be chatting about boys and dating and all of that good stuff. My friend Teresa recently did a video similar to this and it inspired me. I thought, I've got some dating stories tucked away somewhere that I could definitely share with you guys, so why not give it a go. If you're new here, please do hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. I also have two pugs that you will definitely hear snoring in the background, so that's what those noises are. But let's get into it. I'm really feeling a sort of orangey, fiery look today as we're talking about love and boys and all that good stuff. So I thought I would take out my Beauty Bay Fiery palette. This is a really nice colour scheme. I will sort of mention makeup as I go through, but I won't focus too much on that. We'll just have a nice chat along together. But I am going to start on my eyes. I do usually start on my face, but let's get into it. So, dating. I have had a fair amount of dates in my time, just using Be Perfect's eye primer. I've had some really successful good ones and I've had some pretty traumatic ones as well, and I think if anybody out there has done a little bit of the online dating world for any period of time, they will relate and have probably met some, let's call it what it is, some weirdos along the way. Now, I am a romantic. I really am. I believe in love. I love love. I love being in love. I am a romantic. So I always like the idea of meeting somebody and building something with them. And although it hasn't worked out for me as of yet long term, which I'm absolutely fine with, it doesn't mean that I haven't looked for it along the way, so to speak. However, you gotta kiss a few frogs, haven't you? And my God, have I kissed some frogs. I have met some characters in my time. I have been with right bellends, to be quite frank. A lot of my dating past does come from meeting people online. I've been on Tinder, I've been on Bumble, I've been on Hinge, I was on POF 100 years ago. You name it, I've probably been on it. Boy, are there some characters out there. But I did meet a guy once who wasn't actually online, came into a pub that I used to work at. So when I was younger, in my early 20s, I used to work in an office doing basic administration work, and 3 days a week in the evenings I used to work at a little local pub, and it was like an old man's pub and nobody attractive came in there. Like, they were all old, would drink the same ales, all the same people would be in there all the time, and yeah, no one under the age of like 50s came in to drink. And obviously I was in my very early 20s at the time, and I was working at the bar and this guy came in with his family, and I remember thinking, he's a bit of alright. Now, I'm gonna be honest, if I'd probably met him in any other situation, I don't know if I would have looked that much. I think it was more that nobody, like I said, under the age of 50 came into this pub, so I was like, oh, a boy my age, like, So anyway, I was even more flattered because at the end, you know, we had a little flirt and stuff, and at the end, before him and his family left, he came over to the bar and gave me his phone number, and I'd never had anyone do anything like that before, be so bold, or, you know, I found it really flattering. I really did. So I left work, and probably that night, I'm going to be honest, because I don't like playing games, never have. If I want to text someone, I text them there and then. I don't wait hours. I don't play games, don't wait hours to text them. I probably should be more like that, but I'm not. So I text him, you know, we arranged to go on a date. So he said to go and meet him at this pub that I knew of, probably about a 20-minute drive from me. So we arranged to go there, and I was excited. I had been single for a while at that time, and I really liked being single because I really liked dating. I really enjoyed dating. I enjoyed going out with my girls at the weekend, having a flirt with a guy at the weekends. Like, I enjoyed doing all of those things. So I got all dressed up, put a nice little outfit on, made my hair look nice, you know, and I went to this pub, and I drove there, and it's a really nice pub, like a country pub, quite a big one, and so when I arrived, he was there, and he had this table for us, but the atmosphere in there was a bit weird. I felt like the staff were looking at me, you know, when you can just tell that, like, you feel like people are borderline talking about you. That's how I felt, and it was a bit weird. Anyway, that was because it turned out that he actually worked there. He was a chef there in the kitchen, which he didn't tell me that before. He also then goes on to tell me how he also lived there above the pub. So you're telling me I've made all the effort here, I've driven to your home and place of work. I thought that was weird. So of course he's on a date with a random girl. All of his colleagues are like sniggering and kept coming over and, you know, making little comments, secret jokes, and it did make me feel uncomfortable. But I thought, all right, Rose, don't be aggy, just see how it goes. So we sat down, and I remember he was really like braggy. Anyone would think that he worked at like a really flashy place. So he kept bragging about like that he worked there and stuff. He talked a lot. I remember thinking, in fact, I've been on a lot of dates with guys where they fail to ask you any questions and they literally talk at you. I've had a lot of those, and as I've got older, I'm a little bit better at calling people out and not really being bothered if it offends them, because you know what, you're offending me by not asking me any questions, not taking any interest. So I'm a bit better at that now, but obviously when I was younger, I just let him sort of talk at me. Anyway, he starts going quite deep and telling me some really personal things about his life, which was heavy for a first date. I remember sitting there thinking, why are you telling me this? I hadn't asked him any of it. And he started telling me how his family had been through some hard times, which I sympathise with. And it's not that you shouldn't be open and honest about those things, but I remember it was a lot for a first date. He was telling me of some things that he'd been through as a child growing up, and just some issues which personally for me, I would imagine for most people it takes them quite a bit of time to open up about that stuff. Also, if you remember, I'd met him in a pub whilst he was out with his family, and they all seemed really nice. I'm not saying that stuff didn't happen, but he was getting quite emotional about the things that he was telling me and the things that he'd been through, and I just remember being really quite shocked at how deep he was going without me even asking any questions. So I sort of sat there and, you know, nodded along and listened, and then I thought, oh, I'll change the subject. So I sort of said, oh, how long have you been single for? You know, what made you give me your number? And he was like, oh, I'm quite newly single actually. I've been with my ex-girlfriend for about 4 or 5 years, I think he said, and you know, I was really in love with her and I wanted to marry her. However, I found her in bed with my twin brother, like, I think he said a month or 2 before, and I was literally like, oh, shit? And he was like, yeah, well, she tried to say that she got us mixed up. I was like, oh, wow, okay. Could that have been a possibility? But also, what's your brother playing at? He was like, no. And I shit you not, he burst into tears. He was just sat at this table crying about this situation. So it was obviously very raw for him, but I was sat there like, I'm pat on the shoulder, like, I'm sorry, I don't know what you want me to say. And he was like, not just a little bit crying, I'm talking full on, like, snot coming out of his nose crying, and it was just beyond awkward. I didn't know what to do. I honestly was thinking, why the F am I even here? Like, why has he invited me here? Why is he telling me this stuff? Like, he obviously has colleagues and friends to talk to. Why is he invited a random girl here that he's met at a bar or in a pub, given the number, and then just invited her to your home and workplace and just cried? Like, what do you do? What do you do? So I should have left at that moment. I should have said, you're clearly not in the right place to be doing this, I'm gonna shoot. But I didn't. I stayed and sort of tried to keep changing the subject, but I felt like every subject I brought up, it would start him to cry again. So like, when I say, okay, well, how long have you lived here then? Oh, well, obviously I had to move out of my parents' house because where I caught my brother, so I can't live there anymore. Honestly. And there's nothing wrong with guys showing their emotions, absolutely not, but come on a first date, I wouldn't cry on a first date. If I felt that emotional, there's no way I'm gonna go on a first date. It's not fair to put that on a random stranger. So anyway, he was insistent that we ordered food before he started crying. I didn't want to, because I just, you know, you just get a vibe. But he was so insistent, and I think he'd already pre-ordered before I even got there. So we had like these pizzas come over to the table, we were sharing those, and then the next minute, someone walking in looking exactly like him, yeah, his twin brother, comes up to us, up to our table. I'm sat there, a bit of pepperoni hanging out of my mouth, like, what the fuck is going on? What is going on? And his brother's like, you alright, mate? Like, taps him on the shoulder and asks him to borrow money, and he gave him some money. So I was really confused. I was like, what is happening? Like, you were crying to me 5 minutes ago about your brother, and now he's rolling in here, and you're giving him money. Like, not that it's my business, and not that I really cared, but I was just so confused. And after he left, after his brother left, he was like slagging him off again, and it was just so uncomfortable. Everything was uncomfortable. And please keep in mind, in the background of this, I had all of his colleagues like sniggering and making comments and just all this weird stuff. So not long after that, we'd finished food, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna head off. And he was like, what do you mean the night's only young? Like, come up to mine, like up to my room upstairs for a drink. And I was like, oh no thank you, I think I'm just gonna leave. And he started crying again, literally at the table, crying, saying things along the lines of, I knew that I'd blown it, nobody's ever gonna love me again. Like, honestly guys, dramatic head like on the table, he was hitting the table. I was in shock. I was just sat there. His colleagues were looking at me as if to say I'd done something wrong for a moment, but then I think they clicked at what he was upset about. He was like, no one's ever gonna love me, I'm not good enough for anybody. Whoa. I was literally like, oh, I'm sure that's not the case, but yeah, I don't think I'm the person for you. And he would cry even more. And of course he wasn't crying for me, like he didn't know me, he didn't, you know, have feelings for me, he didn't care about me, he just didn't want to be on his own, I guess, that evening or whatever. But hello, I mean, how could anybody think that anybody would find that attractive? Like, so bizarre to me. So in the end, I said I was going to go to the toilet, and then I got one of his colleagues who had kept looking over, and I said to him, like, I need to leave. Your colleague is being really strange. Can you just go and make sure he's okay whilst I leave? So that's what happened. I didn't sneak out. I said goodbye to him, but his colleague was there at the same time and was like, come on mate, like, let's get you upstairs and we'll have a beer or whatever. And then he like texted me non-stop for ages. It was just so bizarre. And in the end, you know, back then you didn't have phones where you could just easily block someone's number. So I just, like, first of all told him, as I always would, I just don't think there's that connection there. Sorry, Peggy's snoring so loud as always. Yeah, I just said I don't think that connection's there, and I think that you've got some things to be working on before you commit to anybody else. But he didn't give up. He texted me for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then I guess he must have either got like his head around it or potentially got back with his ex or whatever. But it was just so bizarre, so bizarre. Okay, I've just cut my crease. Not very well, not very even, and I've just had some chocolate. So let's get into the next story. My next dating story is going back a bit in time as well. Again, I was in my early 20s, and I was dating online quite a bit at the time, and I met up with this one guy who was in the army. Now that isn't really normally my style. I know a lot of women find things like that attractive, but I'm quite a realist, and I know that if they're in the army, that means they're all around, they're all over the place, and they don't really have time and all that sort of stuff. And you know, I am the type of person that I don't really want anything crazy. I just want your normal bog standard type of relationship. I don't think I asked for a lot, to be honest. But anyway, so but at this time I wasn't really looking necessarily for a relationship. I was just having fun dating. So he, as I said, was in the army, and he said that he was on leave for a bit of time, I believe, and he was living in the next town from me. He said, Peggy, he said he lived on, when I asked where he lived, when he said he lived on the next town from me, he told me this road, and I knew the road. I actually had a friend that lived on this road. So I was like, wow, small world, you're literally a 5-second drive from me. Like, we should definitely meet up. And he was like, yeah, sounds great. But it took quite a bit of time for us to actually meet up and go on a date. And I remember, like, we'd be texting, and I'd be, you know, text back and forth, and I'd be like, oh, what you up to? He'd be like, oh, I'm just at the gym. I'd be like, oh, cool, what gym do you go to? And he'd avoid answering those sorts of questions. And I remember once me and my friend were like exercising, and we were walking, and I was like, oh, me and your friend are just like, because the road that he lived on was the route that we used to do our walk on, because like I said, it was really close to where I lived. And so, you know, every now and then I'd be like, oh, I'm just walking down your road, like da da da. Anyway, so we finally met, and we had about 3 dates in total, and he was a really nice guy. He was actually originally from Newcastle, and you know, I love an accent. I love a Geordie accent. So yeah, he was from Newcastle, and we got along really well. He was really funny, he had a really good sense of humour. And I enjoyed spending my time with him. At first, I remember him being a little bit awkward, but you know, some people are when they first meet people. It's just the way that it is. So yeah, we got along well. The first time we went to just a pub and sat in a pub garden. The second time we went for dinner in the evening, and I think the third time we just hung out at like a pub or something again. But I remember, like, as time was going on and we were spending more and more time together, that I was just noticing quite a few things that just weren't adding up and making sense. Like, I remember, like I say, little things like asking, you know, about like what gym he was at, and him not being able to just give me a straight answer like a normal person would, and all of this stuff. So we got along well. I thought he was very attractive. We never slept together or anything like that. I never went back to his place. He never came back to mine. It was purely just dating. And then one day I just called him out. I was like, you're being shady. Like, something doesn't add up. Like, what's going on? That's when he admitted to me that he actually didn't live in Reigate. He lived in Devon, 4 hours away. And he was just casually doing this drive every time, making out he was driving 2 minutes down the road to come and meet me. Like, literally text me now, be like, oh, I'm just leaving my house now, I'll pick you up in 5. He must have googled all these things. Googled, like, when he was out with his mates at the pub, he googled what pub it was at, he googled his address that he gave me, or not his address, but the road that he told me he lived at. And he'd been driving 4 hours each way each time to go on a date with me. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, I remember literally saying, what is wrong with you? And I remember, like, some of the girls at the time were like, oh, that's really sweet, like, that he would make all that effort to come and see you. What would be sweeter if he was just honest with me about where he lived? Like, why are you lying? How do I even know you live in Devon? Like, it was just so bizarre. Needless to say, I didn't see him again. I put some liner and lashes on. Not sure there's any point in putting liner on because these lashes are so massive. These are some Doll Beauty ones called Zara. So yeah, those are on. Let's get on to the base. Now, I've already moisturised, but I am going to put a little bit of primer on. I'm trying to get through these things. So what should we go for? Let's go for my good old fave, the Barry M Unicorn drops. So yeah, being single and dating isn't easy. And ghosting. Let's talk about ghosting. I've personally never ghosted anybody before, because I've got the bollocks to tell someone if I'm not interested in them. So if I'm talking to somebody for a little while and I'm just not feeling it anymore and I'm just not interested, I'm able to say to them, I'm not feeling it anymore, I'm just not interested. And I don't know why other people aren't able to just do the same. Fine, it might be a little bit shit to hear, nobody wants to be rejected, but I'd rather that any day of the week than think that everything's fine and you're getting along really well with someone and then the next minute, gone forever. Never to be heard from again. However, you've still got them on your Instagram and they're still fucking posting non-stop, so you know that they're alive, which you could say is a positive. Some people wouldn't say that's a positive. So yeah, I have been ghosted untold amount of times. I couldn't count how many times I've been ghosted. I've been ghosted by guys that I've spoken to for maybe a couple of weeks. I've been ghosted like straight after I've met somebody and you think it's going okay and then boom. The ones that I never get ghosted by are the ones that I'm not interested in. Like, if I'm interested in someone and I've got along really well with them and I've personally thought it's gone really, really well, they're the ones that I never hear from again. And if I've gone out with someone and I've just thought, do you know what, there just isn't a connection, they're the ones that, even though I tell them that I don't think there's a connection, they still continue to message me. Does anyone know why I do that? Who knows? Yeah, I've definitely had it before where I've gone on a few dates with somebody, I think it's going really well, you can see like potential for growth there, and then they just disappear. Like, they just stop replying. I'm somebody that does like to hold on to my dignity, so if I've like not heard from them for a little while, I'm quite good at like taking the hint, but it doesn't mean that it hurts any less. Like I won't send somebody like 100 messages in a row. Like I've had somebody do that to me before, even though I've told them. And I think that's the difference. Just be honest and tell someone, I'm just not feeling it anymore. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I just much rather be told than to have the rejection of thinking everything's going okay, thinking that you're getting along really, really well with somebody, and then they just piss off without any rhyme or reason, without any explanation, and you're left wondering, like, what has happened? Like, how have we got to this place? And it could be that they think that you two are just on different pages in your life. It could be that they're just not that interested. It could be they're not looking for something serious. It could be that they've got a girlfriend. It could be so many things. Just tell me. Just be honest and open. And girls, if you're a girl that does this to guys, guys have feelings too. So tell them. If you're not interested in somebody, just tell them. Like, and you don't have to go into like nasty reasons. You can just tell them it's not working out for you, but don't disappear and leave someone hanging. I honestly think it's the most cowardly, meanest thing that you can do ever. And I just lose so much respect when a guy does it. Not that it matters because I'm not talking to them again, but you know what I mean. So yeah, I may have like dated a guy like a few times and then they just disappear. But like I said, you see on their Instagram that they're alive, or a week later after they've ghosted you, they're now in a relationship with somebody, and you're like, what the fuck? How are you in a relationship with somebody when last week we were dating and doing whatever we were doing, you know? So it's hard. The dating world is hard. I would love to sit here and say some really lovely things about it, but I find that really difficult because I've met some great people dating. I've met some really nice people. I've met some funny people, but you're not looking to make friends, are you, when you're dating? So, you know, all the funny stories are the ones that just haven't worked out and are just absolute weirdos. And if they're not weirdos, then they're fuckboys. And I don't know what's worse, to be honest. Because I haven't got time for a fuckboy. Some girls or people, they like the bad boy, don't they? They like to be treated mean, to be kept keen. I don't like that. I just want honesty. I like to know where I stand. I want to be treated with respect. I want to be treated nicely. I don't like playing games, like I said earlier. I feel like if somebody wants to message me, just message me. I won't wait 3 hours to respond. I'll text you back straight away if I'm by my phone. You know, that's just how I personally like it. I think one of my bad things is that I make it too easy for guys as well. I am that girl that will be like, I'll do that for you. Oh, I don't mind driving. Oh, I'll lend you this money. Oh, I'll do that. I'll do this. And then I think because I make it so easy for them, they then take advantage of me. And this is people that I've been in relationships with as well. Like, I will do so many things for them. Things that would maybe even put me in a worse off situation, whether that be financially or with my time. And I do that because I'm a nice person and I believe in, you know, when you care about someone, you want to help them, don't you, if they're having a hard time or if they're struggling with something. But that is something that I've definitely learned in the last well, I've probably been learning that lesson for a while, but in the last year or so I've really made a promise to myself that although you can help somebody, recognise when that's being taken advantage of. Because I think sometimes people take advantage of you without even knowing that they're doing it, because you make it easy for them. And that's exactly what I've done over time. I've definitely been the girl that wants to make them happy and will make myself in a situation where I maybe have less in order for them to have more, and that isn't healthy, and that's something that I definitely won't be doing again going forward. But I'm getting a bit off topic, aren't I? We're here to be well, I don't know, it's not necessarily just a dating focused video, just thought it was a bit of a topic to have a bit of a talk and a chat and a rant about, really. I'd love to know what your guys' situations are. Are you single? Are you taken? In a serious relationship? Taken, sorry, that sounded a bit like taken. Are you in a serious relationship? Is it complicated? Like, what are your guys' situations? I'd love to know. And do you have any dating tips for me? Because I definitely need to get back out there with the dating game. I keep going on to dating sites, coming off them, going on them, coming off of them, because I like maybe talk to someone for a little while and then like there'll not be that connection, or they may be wasting my time. Like recently I was talking to a guy, we spoke on the phone a little bit, got along really well, I thought anyway, really good banter. I do at times have quite a dark sense of humour, and so we had really good banter, really laughing a lot, and yeah, we spoke on the phone and voice notes and all that stuff, and we didn't speak for long, but I was honest like in my profile and like when talking to him that I'm not looking for like a fat person, I'm not looking for a fat boy, I'm looking for something more than that. I've been single for way over a year now because I don't want to just piss about with people. I'm not on that page anymore. I'm you know, really looking for something a little bit more serious. And he was like, yeah, I get it. And to be honest, he was getting on a bit. He's in his early 40s. I think he was 41 or 40 or whatever, but you know, I'm a catch. So we were speaking, getting along alright, and then they do like what they do every time, where they just can't be asked to contact you. And not only can they not be asked to contact you, they tell you they can't be asked to contact you. I think I made a comment about like how shit he was at messaging, and he was like, oh sorry, I've been laying on my couch all day not doing anything. Oh brilliant, thank you, you know how to make someone feel special. And then I'm gonna get you a message a couple of days later being like, actually you sound like a really great girl. Yeah, I know I am, babe. But I'm going on holiday soon and I don't really want to get involved with anyone before I go on holiday. Right, so what you're saying is as a man in his early 40s, you have a holiday coming up during lockdown, and you would rather just go and fuck everything moving than start something honest and real, which, do you know what, credit to him, he told me the truth, and that's cool. Like, I respect that, and if that's what somebody wants to be doing, then you know, we're on different pages, and I'd much rather be told the truth. But why bother to start talking to me in the first place, like when I've made it clear what I'm looking for? Like, why waste a couple of weeks of my time talking to me, making out that we're going to be going on these dates and doing these things if you CBA? Like, and then after that I think, oh, this is why I can't be asked, because there's nobody out there that, well, I say there's nobody out there, I'm sure there are lots of people, but I don't tend to attract or pick the people out there who are just on a similar page, who want to go and have fun with somebody. Don't get me wrong, I'm not asking these people to like marry me. I'm just saying, like, let's go and have some fun, let's date, let's talk, you know. But of course you want someone on the same wavelength as you, and that's got, like, I respect that he was open and honest. I can't ask for anything more than that, but it's just frustrating. And then I get like, oh, I just can't be asked with this, and then I come off of them again, or I just don't go on them for a few weeks, because I just feel like each time it's a waste of my time. Does anybody know what I mean? That I really struggle with online dating as well is I'm much more attracted to somebody's personality than their looks, and if you lined up all my exes you would see that to be true. I've never really gone out with anybody that's really very good looking, and that isn't to be judgmental or awful. In fact, I think I'm the complete opposite to that. But yeah, I mean, every boyfriend that I've had people telling me like, what are you doing? They're punching. And I guess that's not even just to do with looks as well, like potentially their personality, because I do just go for the wrong kind of guy. I don't know why I pick these type of people. And do you know what, when I meet them and first start talking to them, they actually make out that they are everything I want them to be. But I think that's because I make the mistake of being so open and honest that I tell them what I'm looking for, and then they can pretend to be that, and then of course they aren't that, and then there comes the disappointment. But yeah, looks aren't like the thing for me that attracts me to somebody. Like, you could be the most beautiful person in the world aesthetically, but if your personality is ugly, you're going to be ugly to me. And that is just very much how I am. Like, if you're boring, if you can't have fun, if you don't make me laugh, if you've got no banter, I don't care about what you look like to an extent. You know, the one thing that I do like, and I think most girls are the same, I'm 5'8", I'm quite tall, so I do like somebody that is a bit taller than me. But yeah, I have been out with some mingers, to be quite honest. It's one thing that I find really hard about online dating, because it's a catalogue, isn't it? It's a catalogue of pictures, and you're going purely off people's looks, and I find that really difficult to do. So I find myself looking at other things, like, what are they wearing, what have they written in their profile, do they seem by like their hobbies and their clothes that they'd be like my type of person. But again, you're still judging off the wrong things, aren't you? And I find it really difficult. So I often end up probably doing the wrong thing, where I say no to all these people, whereas really I should maybe say yes to more people and start conversations that way. But I also find it really difficult, like, each time starting up the same conversations each time. And it doesn't matter how often I try and spice it up a little bit. I like to ask, like, would you rather questions. So like, would you rather have a head the size of a watermelon or the size of a pea? Like, I like asking those kind of questions to break the ice. But again, they always go back to sort of, you know, your basics. Where are you from? What do you do? Where do you like going out? How long have you been single? And it's so draining having those same conversations over and over again. So I also get put off by starting talking to somebody new, or being a little bit more generous with my people that I match with, if you like, because I can't be bothered to keep having those same conversations. Does that make sense? And that teamed up with the fact that I don't usually go off looks, those two things together, I find it really hard. Ultimately, I guess I am looking for something a little bit more serious. I'm getting on a little bit now. I'm a... oh, bollocks. Just got fucking... ugh. I've just got eyebrow stuff on my lid. Fantastic. Yeah, as I was saying, you know, the older body clock is ticking. It won't be long until I get Botox, I don't think. I'm 31. And I would like to settle down with somebody and, like, but not even necessarily in like, oh, I need to get married and have children. More that I would really just love to find my best friends in a partner. I'd really love to like do all the normal things that people do, you know, take trips, go on random drives. That person that you can just sit and tell your day about over a glass of wine and some food. Cook with somebody. Like, those are the things that I am looking for and that I would really love to find in a partner. And I don't care about what their financial status is. Obviously I want them to work, and it'd be nice if they had things like a car, but I don't care about any of that. I'm an independent person. I look after myself. I just want somebody who is a kind, generous, open-minded person who just does what they say. No fuckboys needed. And that is harder to find than it should be. Somebody who wants to have that sort of relationship back with you. I don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's lots of people out there. I just haven't found somebody that I have that connection with that wants that similar thing to me. And it is frustrating because you do see everybody around you, you know, as you get to sort of my age, it's a bit of a divide. My friends now, if they're not married and with children, they are in a serious relationship, and it is difficult being one of the people that isn't in a relationship, although I don't want to just go with somebody for the sake of being with somebody, because I think that's the worst thing you can do ever want to settle. I've definitely settled in the past. I've definitely stuck around so much longer with people than I should have. My gut's telling me to leave, and I don't, for so many reasons, and all the wrong ones. And you know, the thing is about having relationships that haven't worked out is that it makes you realise what you do want from your next relationship and the person that you hopefully spend the rest of your life with. And that is very much what I believe. So I, you know, have been hurt in the past. I have been treated very badly. I've been with some people that really didn't deserve me and didn't deserve my time. But I recognise that now, and I've learnt from it, and there are lots of things that I will never do the same again with somebody else. And somebody that loves me wouldn't want me to anyway. So yeah, it's not about tarring the next person with the same brush. I would never do that. I'm very good at not doing that. I trust people until they give me a reason not to trust them. But I think it's definitely being a little bit more able to say, this isn't right, so don't waste your time and hang around. And I can't talk about if it is right because I've never met the right person for me, and I have definitely been in love. I've fallen hard, and it takes a long time to pull back and pull yourself out of that. That really isn't an easy thing to do. Oh, fucking pigments leaked all over my brow gel. Oh my god, I'm absolutely covered now. I am completely aware that I've gone off topic, and I was obviously before talking about dating stories, and now I've just gone into a rant about my life story. I hope that's okay with everybody. So yeah, over the last year or so, I've really been on a self journey, and I have such a long way to go. I think there's always room for improvement anyway, but I've been very much working on my mental state and my mental health, and I've very much been single throughout that process because I think you need to be. For me anyway, I don't think it's healthy for me to rush from one relationship to another, and I know if I did do that, it would be completely for the wrong reasons. So I have spent the last year working on my mental health and really figuring out what it is I want out of life, why it is that I've made the bad decisions that I've made previously in my life, why is it that I keep trying to change things, because I'm a big believer in if nothing changes, nothing changes. So if you aren't prepared to make those changes, everything's going to stay the same. And some people might think that I'm wrong, that know me personally, but I do try to go for a different type of person each time. If I see similarities in an ex at the beginning, I will call that out. Like, sorry, that doesn't make sense. If I see similarities in a new partner that I've maybe have been warning signs because of what I've been through in the past, I definitely won't ignore that. I'll call that out. But like I said, I think where it goes wrong for me is that I am very open and honest with people when I first get with them about what I've been through in my past and how that's affected me and what I don't want, and they can then pretend to not be like that. But of course you can only pretend for so long. So through this last year, I've decided to take some time out really focus on my own mental health. I've started up this YouTube channel, which has been a great focus for me, and I've just started to try and love myself a little bit more. You know, I am an attractive woman, and you know, years ago I wouldn't have been able to say that. This time last year I wouldn't have been able to say that. I was in such a dark place because of the relationship that I'd been in, and other things as well, that I wasn't able to say you are attractive, you are a beautiful person, you're a good person, because I just didn't believe it. I've been in a few relationships actually where I've been told that I'm unattractive, that I've been told the way they are acting is because of me and how I'm not good enough. I've been told that by so many men in my life that I really believed it. But I'm strong. I really am a strong person, and I do think previous boyfriends have underestimated me of how strong that I am. And although I might believe it, and I absolutely can't get emotional because I've just done all this makeup, but however much I may believe it at the time, there is another part of me saying that isn't true, you know that isn't true. And so you're forced to deal with your own mindset and what somebody else is telling you. And even if they're not verbalizing it, sometimes their actions make you believe that, because they're not doing things for you, they are disrespecting you, they're not honest with you, they lie to you, they think that you are that stupid that they can do that to you, and it's a lack of respect. And I don't think people realise the effect that that can have on somebody, what that can have on the other party. It's huge and it's heartbreaking. And you know, heartbreak is one of the hardest things in my opinion to deal with. It's got really deep. I was planning on coming on here and telling funny dating stories, and I've done that, and I don't know how I've ended up on this road of talking about serious love stuff. I'll have to change the intro if I even post this video, because of how deep I've actually gone with this. I don't know if I will post it, even though I haven't really even scratched the surface. But yeah, I'm forever hopeful. I'm forever hopeful that I will meet somebody who loves me for me, and I can love them for them. And I think that's everybody's dream, isn't it? It's not been the easiest in terms of working on yourself, especially with what the world's been going through. It's not easy anyway, but I think, you know, even more so when the world is on lockdown, you can't necessarily be going to do all the things that you plan to do, but you have to make it work with what you've got. And I was really lucky enough to make some amazing friends over lockdown, on a Patreon group, which is Makeup by Mrs. Patreon group, and they really did keep me going. They really have been so amazing, and I've got some friends that I've made for life, which is the best thing to have come from this situation for me personally. And I know a lot of people who are single were on dating sites talking to guys or girls. I've got a friend who fell in love through lockdown with somebody that she met online. Many things have come from this time of standing still, but it's such a contradiction of feelings. So for me personally, this last year or so has absolutely not been about being in love with anybody else other than myself. And although I am the biggest I've ever been, I'm definitely the most in love with myself I've ever been. I am not focused on the outside. I'm a lot more focused about the inside. And one thing that I always like to remember is that when I die, my grave won't have written on it, Rosie, the fat bitch who eats all the time and loves a nap. It will have all the good parts about my soul on it, and that's the things that will live on about me. So they're the things that I try and focus on. As I said at the beginning, I do really love love. I do. I love love. I love the idea of love. I love meeting people and dating to eventually find what we're all looking for. And I definitely do plan to get back into that, even with all the shit bits involved as well. But yeah, have you guys got any tips for me? Maybe there is something I'm doing wrong, because I just can't get anything to stick until I find that person. The self-focus and self-love will continue. As RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, babe, how the hell are you going to love anybody else? Can I get an amen? Right, I've gone OTT with my blush because I'm a blusher and I love blusher. What do we think? It's a pretty basic look. Let's put some lippy on. Okay guys, and this is the finished look. Okay everyone, this is the finished look. What do we think? I like it. I quite like how it's turned out. It's not the best I've ever done, but it's certainly not the worst. So yeah, let me know what you think below. I hope you guys don't mind me going on a little bit of a rant, just talking random crap at you. I always love to keep it as honest as possible. It's just who I am, and I've told you some pretty deep things in here, and I hope you guys don't mind. I hope it wasn't too OTT. But if you have enjoyed this video, please do give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Leave any comments down below. I really love talking to you guys down there. And if you do like this kind of video, or you like hauls or anything like that, that's what I mainly do on this channel. So pop on that notification bell so you're alerted of when I upload next time. But in the meantime, I hope you're all having a lovely day, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye! Mwah!